Hi, today we'll be creating a quiz uh, in Moodle. So here I have a general sandbox. You'll go to your section. I just have it a generic topic one, which is the default of Moodle, and you would press add an activity. And in that activity, you would select quiz. When you select quiz, you'll have to give it a name. So let's call it quiz one. You can give a description of some kind. You could say this is a quiz testing or evaluating arithmetic skills. Again, that's optional, but you do want to go through these drop-down menus. The timing, so you want to open the quiz, let's say today at 1 o'clock. And you want to give students maybe 24 hours to do this quiz. So you press the enable and you say, okay, I'll leave it for tomorrow, the 17th at 1 o'clock. Again, you're perfectly flexible. You can make it 2 days, 3 days, however you want, 3 hours. But then you said, or then you maybe you'd say, well, but I only want it to be a 20-minute quiz. I only want to give 20 minutes for students to do this. So I'll put 20 minutes. And that means they only get a 20-minute window. Once they've begun that quiz, they only have 20 minutes to complete it. Then you have, when the time expires, you can have a number of choices or options. You can just say, okay, let's say there's 10 questions in the quiz. Whatever they've done so far, let's say they did question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they did them, and they're working on question number 6, but 20 minutes went off. You can then just say, okay, those five questions got submitted, they'll count, and the other ones, you get wrong because you didn't complete it in time. Or you could say there's a grace period. So let's say they're working on question number 6, time expires. You'll give them an extra amount of time, and you could specify what that time is, maybe an extra 5 minutes. They can't go on to question number 7, and they can't review anything else, but they can finish the question that they're on. Or you have an option saying, no, they have to, if they don't do all 10 questions, then they get a 0. Attempts must be submitted before the time expires, or they're just not counted. That's how it works. So let's say you pick, I'll give them a grace. You'll say, okay, I'll give them 5 minutes more in case they're working on something. Then you could select the grade, the category. Now I don't have any categories. I haven't set it up yet. But had you set up the grade book with categories, you can then select the category it would go into. How many attempts do you want to give them? Well, you probably want to give them only one attempt, multiple choice question. But of course, it's up to you. Then the layout, how do you want it to lay out? Every question, say there's 10 questions, you can have all questions on one page, or you can have every 2 questions every page, 3 questions every page, etc. Okay, you could decide. Let's say I want them all on one page. Question behavior. Do you want to shuffle within the questions? So what does that mean, shuffle within the question? The parts making up each question will be randomly shuffled. Okay, so the A's and the B's and the C's, and they're being shuffled between students. Okay, so not every A will appear the same for every student in that question. So it really only is relevant for multiple choice or multiple parts. So yes, and then it depends on which feedback you want. Do you want to give them immediate feedback or deferred feedback? The feedback will be after you maybe grade. That's a good default option. Review. Now, this is important. It's important that you open all these little boxes because maybe it's things that you want, So immediately after the attempt, you know, do you want them to have the right answer or feedback or their grade or whatever it is that you want? Now, if you're giving them 20 minutes in a 24-hour window, you probably don't want to give them the answer or let them know or the marks or whether that's correct, because they might tell somebody who's maybe writing it an hour later. So you want to sort of look in each of these and think about what you want. Maybe after the whole quiz is closed and that's it, maybe you want to give them everything, the right answer, the marks, the attempts, whatever you want to tell them. The appearance, you know, just question if you want decimal places, if you want to show the user's picture, you don't have to. Restrictions on attempt, if you want, enforce a delay between the first and second attempt if you give them more than one attempt to do the question. Or if you want a password, you could do this. Again, you don't have to do any of this. The feedback, how are you going to give them feedback? But you could do this. This is general for the whole quiz, but you can also do, like, if you know, let's say they get 80%, you could say, wow, great, you did, you know, better than, you know, you almost got them all right or something. You could say something. Common module settings is more if, okay, so availability, do you want to just show it on the course page? So on your course, it's going to say quiz 1. Now, it'll only, when they click on it, it'll only be available when how you've set the timing, but they'll see quiz 1. But you may not want, because you're developing the quiz, you may not want them to even see that there's quiz 1. You could just hide it. And you could always show it afterwards or reveal it afterwards. But while you're developing it, or maybe you don't want it, that you don't want them to see it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance. You just want to see that when they see it. So you hide it, or you could show it. And then you could say whether you want this quiz to be done in groups, but we're not going to talk about groups because that's a whole new thing. And then you could restrict access. And again, restricting access, you'd often see this access tags, competencies on many of the resources. And restrict access can be very useful, but it's a bit advanced. So let's say you're done and you're okay with all of this. You go save and display. And now you'll be ready to, so you get a little summary, okay, of what you wrote, the timing, but no questions. So you click edit quiz, and then you'll get a window saying, okay, let's time to add questions. Now, you could then click add. So on the right, there's a button called add, and you'd click on add. Now you can add a new question, which is likely what you're doing, or you can go from a question bank if you already have a number of questions, or you can get a random question from the question bank. So probably let's just do new question. That's probably the most common. So now you have choice, multiple choice, true, false, short answers, numerical, calculate, essays, all kinds of matching. You could do all kinds of choices. But let's stay with simple ones. But you can see there's a whole list, drag and drop, and there's lots of flexibility within Moodle. But let's pick multiple choice as the easiest. And every time you click one of these, you get a little mini description. Sometimes you get a little question mark and you can click on the question mark. But in this case, depending on the version of Moodle you have, we get a little description. So most people are familiar with multiple choice. You pick a multiple choice, and then you add the question name. So you say this is arithmetic. Oops. Arithmetic. Okay, and you say how much is 2 plus 6. Okay. If you want all kinds of options, formatting options, you can click on this little box and it gives you more formatting options like strike through and underline, bold, and you know, subscripts and superscripts, all kinds of extra options. You can put in tables and all kinds of stuff. But let's just do a simple one. How much is 2 plus 6? And you could say the default mark is 1, that's by default, but you could change it. You could say, oh, it's worth 3 marks. And number ID, again, you can press a little question mark, but it's more like a unique identifier that you give in case you want to do searching for this particular kind of question. So you always know it's, whatever it is, your course 301, and it's always on test 1, and it's always one of those questions. So you can give it some kind of ID number, but you don't have to. And again, you could select. Now shuffle the choice. Again, you're shuffling the order of the answers. You could do it, and in this case, I know we already did it, but we did it globally. So for every single question, it's possible that in a particular question, you don't want to shuffle the order. I don't know why, but maybe you just don't. You always want the A1 to appear the A1 and the B1 always to be the B1. You always want that. It's possible. So you would just unclick it. So choice 1 as an answer, it was 2 plus 6. So you want to say 8. And for that grade, you want to give 100%. And you want to say maybe great job. Whatever you want to write. You don't have to write anything. For choice 2, you'd say, okay, maybe it's 10. And maybe for the grade, you want to say, well, at least they got it as an even number. Let's give them half marks. I don't know if you would do that, but let's say you do. And I don't know, let's say 2 plus 6, let's say you said it was 23, and you get nothing for that. You get no marks for that. Again, you have all kinds of choices. And you could even add more choices, as many choices as you wish. Okay, and if you want, they give you 5, but again, you don't have to fill out all 5. You could do 3 or 2 or 4, and if you want more, you can do more, 8. You just keep going. You can have 30 choices. And then for just by default, if it's correct, Moodle will say the answer is correct, or partial answer is partially correct, or incorrect, your answer is incorrect. And you can just press Save Changes. Now, let's say you want to see this question. You're not sure what it's going to look like on the page. You press the preview button, and you're going to see it. And you could answer. Again, it's randomized now because we said to shuffle. So let's say we pick, well, let's pick the right answer. Okay, and we press Submit and Finish. Now, it says Finish because there's only one question. But otherwise, it would just say Submit. If there were 2 questions, it would say Submit. And depending on what you gave as options, I said don't mark it correct or not, but it says it's marked out of 3. So this is what students would see. So let's say you wanted to add another question. Again, new question. And let's say you say, okay, true, false. And you say add. So again, you'll say this is arithmetic, or okay, let's say arithmetic 2. What's the question? True, false. Is the world, is the earth flat? That's maybe contentious for your class. I hope it's not. Again, let's say that marks 2 marks. And the correct answer is false. Okay, but you could say the correct answer is true. It is flat. Okay, you can give some feedback or you don't have to. Okay, and and how many tries are you going to give? By default, it's 1 because it's only true, false, right? And then you could say save changes, continue editing, or just save changes. If continue editing means you're going to continue to edit this particular question. But save changes, you'll go back to your list. And again, you could just keep adding different types of questions. Now you can also press shuffle here. There's another little mark. And this one, if you press the question mark will actually shuffle the order of the questions into a different random order. So it even makes it harder for students to share answers. So this means that for some, there's only 2 questions, but this means some students will get that first question as their first question, and some students will get the second question as their first question. So you can click that as well. So you get some choice. And again, maximum grade you can always change, but right now it just by default, if the first one is worth 3 marks and the second one's worth 2 marks, by default the total is 5 marks. And that's basically it. That's how you would create a quiz with all your questions. Now, again, there are other choices. I don't want to go through all of them. Some of them you do have to play around with. Now, short answer, you may not be able to grade automatically by Moodle because it's very difficult to set up that. But some of them that are very easy, it's possible to do that. So I'll cancel and I'll sign off for now. Well, good luck.